Crew-10 is fast approaching. Does SpaceX have a booster backlog? Is the Starship program in real danger? What hardware will be used for the next campaign? Artemis II is undergoing more stacking and construction, Relativity Space is completely redoing Terran R, and is there a blood moon on the rise? My name is Felix, welcome to What About It, let's dive right in. SpaceX is launching Crew-10, marking a full decade since NASA first turned to private companies to fly astronauts to space. A safety scrub on Wednesday, March 12th caused a slight delay due to a hydraulic issue on the strongback that holds the rocket up and needs to retract shortly before liftoff. What started as a bold experiment with Crew Dragon Demo 2 way back in 2020 is now routine, but every mission adds another piece to the bigger picture. Crew-10 will lift off from Kennedy Space Center aboard Falcon 9. It carries Commander N. McClain and pilot Nicole Ayers from NASA, mission specialist Takuya Onishi from the Japanese space agency JAXA, and mission specialist Kirill Peskov from Roscosmos to the ISS. Their arrival kicks off a crucial transition, and Crew-9 is preparing to head home after 6 months in orbit, officially passing the baton. This also includes astronauts Sunny Williams and Butch Wilmore. They arrived not on a Crew Dragon but aboard Boeing's Starliner, a spacecraft that's still waiting for its first crewed return flight. With no certified way to bring them back, NASA had already arranged for them to return on a Crew Dragon instead, keeping SpaceX as the safety net when Boeing's system wasn't ready. This marks the 10th operational Crew Dragon mission under NASA's Commercial Crew program, which started with Crew-1 in 2020. In just 4 years, SpaceX has now flown over 40 astronauts to the ISS. Crew-10's stay will last 150 days, packed with over 200 science experiments, everything from medical research in microgravity to deep space mission preparations. They'll also manage multiple supply runs from Cargo Dragons, Cygnus and Progress, ensuring the ISS stays stocked. And beyond ISS operations, Crew-10 is setting the stage for Axiom 4, another private mission launching late this spring. In just 4 years, Crew Dragon has become the workhorse of low Earth orbit. We are closer and closer to a reality where crewed spaceflights to space stations are the norm. Now let's shift over to Starbase, Texas. SpaceX is ramping up its efforts again. As preparations for Flight 9 swing into motion, Ship 35 is at Massey's test site to undergo the first in a spate of critical tests before becoming flight-worthy. The prototype recently arrived at the test site to undergo its first thrust simulation tests, which will be more crucial than ever after 2 consecutive early runs from Ships 33 and 34. Yeah. The urgency level is also demonstrated by a job offering which opened at SpaceX on March 11th. Take a look at this. It's unclear if this is directly related to the 2 unscheduled endings of Flights 7 and 8, but Starship Block 2's problem might be in this area of expertise. So if you know how to design a Starship propellant feed system, apply now. There's a lot to be done with Ship 35 before this position is filled though, and SpaceX is hard at work getting it through its paces. To do this, SpaceX doesn't fire up the engines. Instead, they use hydraulic systems and extreme pressure tests to simulate launch conditions. We've already seen the thrust simulator present at Massey's. These massive hydraulic arms press against the puck, simulating engine force. If any part of it bends, cracks, or shows signs of weakness, it won't make it to the following cryoproof test. With Ship 35 and Flight 9 on the horizon, these tests are more important than ever. The last thing SpaceX wants is another highly publicized Starship light show over populated areas. Seeing the Starlink dummy satellites released and getting to the relight phase is of the highest priority. SpaceX isn't just testing for one launch, they are refining the entire system for reusability and reliability. Everything they learn from thrust testing Ship 35 will apply to future Starships, making each one stronger and more capable, hopefully. To put this into perspective, SpaceX has experienced consecutive failures in testing before. The suborbital campaign of Starship was no stranger to delay and early explosions. Falcon 1 failed its first 3 launches. Now, for the first time in what feels like a long while, the Starship program's progress is at an inflection point. SpaceX needs this one to go well, and these tests are the first steps to ensure it will. And there is one thing you can do to ensure we can keep on doing what we do. Help improve the channel and double check that you've hit the like and the subscribe button to stay up to date with our updates. It's free and it helps us bring you even better content. On we go with Artemis II, the next NASA space launch system in line for a launch. United Launch Alliance and NASA are making steady progress with final core stage testing for SLS, the heavy lift rocket designed to support Artemis missions. The latest round of testing focused on structural integrity, fueling procedures, and engine firings, ensuring the core stage can handle the extreme conditions of a launch. With Artemis II scheduled as the upcoming crewed lunar flyby mission, these tests are crucial in verifying that all systems are ready for human spaceflight. Despite some delays, NASA remains confident in SLS's capabilities, emphasizing its importance for long-term lunar exploration and eventual Mars missions. SLS is currently the most viable way for astronauts to get into a lunar orbit. However, NASA's massive rocket does not support landings, so astronauts will need a third-party lander for that final step. NASA's Artemis program has been the subject of much debate and discussion for years. However, Artemis II, the program's first crewed mission, is currently scheduled for April 2026. This mission will mark the first time astronauts travel beyond low Earth orbit since 1972. It is the crucial next step in testing NASA's Space Launch System and Orion spacecraft, paving the way for lunar landings in the future. The 10-day mission will carry 4 astronauts around the moon before returning to Earth. Commander Reed Wiseman, pilot Victor Glover, mission specialist Christina Koch, and mission specialist Jeremy Hansen will validate Orion's life support system and assess deep space travel conditions before future missions aim to land on the lunar surface with the help of private companies. These astronauts won't be stepping onto the moon just yet, but their flight will set the stage for Artemis III, the first lunar landing of this new space era. Yes! The road to Artemis II hasn't been without setbacks. After Artemis I's uncrewed mission in 2022, NASA discovered unexpected heat shield charring and flaking upon re-entry. Gas expanded within the shield on re-entry, making the delicate heat tiles break up. Yeah. Engineers have spent the last 2 years refining the design to ensure Artemis II's crew will return safely. This challenge, along with other system refinements, pushed the original 2024 launch window back to 2026. The countdown to Artemis II is on. With it, NASA is one step closer to returning humans to the moon. Now let's quickly talk about another rock out there, one that's been portrayed as very dangerous by traditional media. Asteroid 2024 Heuer has been making waves. Few come this close to Earth. With stories like this, misinformation spreads fast. That's why I use a trusted tool to cut through the noise. Let's see what the media is saying. Join me at ground.news/y. At first glance, it might seem like massive destruction is inevitable in 2032. The asteroid, often called a city killer, is depicted as a giant rock shattering Earth's crust. But if you care to take a second look, you will find reporting media painting a very different picture. The record-breaking probability of this asteroid hitting the Earth after a jump to a 1 in 32 chance, the highest impact probability NASA has ever recorded for an object of this size or larger, new data has dropped those odds to a 1 in 67 chance. Another observation is that the reporting on the possible damage caused by a potential impact differs noticeably. Ground News found over 200 sources covering this, with more than 80% rated highly factual, showing accurate reporting and timely corrections. Many headlines still lean towards sensationalism. That's just how the media works. Bias is everywhere, just like in this example. While one newspaper's headline read, "City killer asteroid could wipe out 100 million people in 7 years," things were stated in a much more factual manner in another. A headline on the same topic calmly asked, "Asteroid 2024 YR4, is it threatening Earth?" You can stay ahead of sensationalism with Ground News. It's subscriber funded, meaning no ads or clickbait, just clear factual reporting. Go to ground.news/y or scan the QR code for 40% off unlimited access, the same plan I use. That's ground.news/y. Get the whole story, try it for yourself. Grounded and back to reality. It's been an odd start to 2025 for SpaceX, as the company has faced delays, rocket failures, and unexpected technical setbacks. While SpaceX is known for pushing boundaries and setting new standards for spaceflight, even the most advanced aerospace company isn't immune to such challenges. As the saying goes, and you'll find us repeating it here often as a reminder, space is hard. On March 2nd, SpaceX suffered the loss of booster 1086. SpaceX's Vice President of Build and Flight Reliability, Bill Gerstenmaier, provided insights into the incident. He explained that about 85 seconds into the ascent, a fuel leak occurred in the first stage booster, causing kerosene to spray onto a hot engine component. During ascent, the lack of sufficient oxygen prevented ignition. It is very rare for a Falcon 9 booster stage to suffer this fate. We've come a long way from the early days of the test program, where it took SpaceX 20 consecutive attempts to stick the first landing on these barges. That being said, anomalies still happen, and this case in particular involved oxygen entering the engine compartment, leading to a fire that damaged the landing leg and resulted in the booster tipping over. The drone ship was still able to move the toppled booster back into port, where our photographer John Winkopp grabbed these stunning photos. Another recent pain point has been the repeated delay of NASA's SpaceX and Punch mission, an ambitious project designed to survey the cosmos and unlock secrets about the early universe. Originally scheduled to launch on February 28th, a series of integration issues between the payload and the Falcon 9 rocket forced multiple postponements, leaving scientists and engineers waiting anxiously. But after weeks of delays, the rocket finally lifted off on Tuesday night, successfully carrying SpaceX into orbit. Now that the mission is officially underway, SpaceX will begin scanning the entire sky in infrared light. It will collect data that could revolutionize our understanding of cosmic evolution, galaxy formation, and even the origins of water and life-supporting molecules in space. This mission is particularly exciting because SpaceX's all-sky infrared survey will provide a comprehensive 3D map of the cosmos, helping scientists study the universe's structure in unprecedented detail. Let me get that into perspective for you. Over the next 2 years, it will collect data on over 300 million galaxies and 100 million stars in the Milky Way, giving researchers new insights into how galaxies evolved over billions of years. As a fun fact, that is 273,972 objects to be recorded daily during its entire mission. So what's next? Over the coming weeks, NASA will calibrate the spacecraft's instruments and begin its first observations. Scientists are eager to see how the data aligns with existing theories about cosmic expansion and galaxy formation. If everything goes as planned, SpaceX could unlock entirely new chapters in our understanding of the universe. 273,972 per day. We'll be sure to bring you all the updates in the future on the experiments it conducts and the results it finds. Are you ready for your own exploration? Do you feel like doing something crazy? Check out redlineheli.com/Felix for a once-in-a-lifetime experience and $25 off flying in a helicopter above Starbase. The Redline helicopter team is waiting for you. They'll show you the same views our photographers get on their Starbase flights. Now let's take a look at a very odd problem to have for a launch provider. Let's jump back to Starbase. SpaceX now finds itself in an unusual situation, a super heavy backlog. They have two newly built super heavy boosters, B16 and the freshly stacked B17 in Megabait 1, along with boosters 14-1 and 15-1, two previously flown and caught ones. On the other hand, they only have one ship in active pre-testing. Ship 35, as previously mentioned, is currently at Massey's for thrust simulation testing. That means the company faces a potential bottleneck. Ship 36 isn't quite stacked yet, and ships 37 and 38 only exist in the form of just a few separate ring sections. So SpaceX doesn't have flight-ready upper stages to match the growing fleet of boosters. This mismatch highlights a reality SpaceX has long anticipated. I predicted it for years. The ship is the hardest piece of the puzzle. The booster, even though much bigger than a Falcon 9 booster, is largely known territory for SpaceX. While the Super Heavy booster has now successfully demonstrated tower catches and amazing engine redundancy, Starship itself is still struggling with what seems to be a critical design flaw in the brand new Block 2 variant. This underscores the engineering challenge of making Starship a fully operational, recoverable spacecraft. The biggest hurdles for Starship's development revolve around structural integrity, re-entry, and critical system upgrades. Its thermal protection system remains in an experimental stage, with most flights providing SpaceX with valuable data. Most. Yet no Starship has survived re-entry fully intact, and the last two flights haven't even been able to test the heat shield tiles at all. Structural and propellant feed issues have also plagued recent flights, experiencing problems through vibrations likely related to engine operation, leading to failures before controlled re-entry could even be attempted. While SpaceX has long adhered to its iterative testing principles, the company has never been subject to as much public scrutiny as it is now. A rapid unscheduled disassembly may not mean the same thing to a wary public as it does to those involved in internal testing. Right now, SpaceX has more than enough super heavy boosters, but without a working Starship, they are building first stages faster than they can fly full stacks. The solution? Fix Block 2 and prove Starship can survive a full mission from launch to re-entry to potential recovery, so SpaceX can finally start flying, landing, and reusing both stages. A growing number of super heavy boosters and a growing number of members in the Y community. If you appreciate the content, become a channel member or a patron for extra content. Secure your access to up to 7 picture galleries per week, satellite, aerial and ground photos, and 3D animations. Chat with us and gain more insights on the topics you love. Thank you so much for your support. Did you see it? Last night the sky put on one of its most dramatic shows, a total lunar eclipse turning the moon a deep red, eerie red. If you stepped outside and caught it, you witnessed the rare and stunning sight of a blood moon, a moment where the Earth's shadow completely covered the moon, giving it the haunting glow. And if you missed it, don't worry, we've got you covered with everything that went down. So why did the moon turn red instead of just disappearing? A total lunar eclipse happens when the Earth moves directly between the sun and the moon, blocking sunlight from reaching the lunar surface. But instead of going completely dark, the moon takes on a fiery copper hue. Why? It's all about our atmosphere. Earth's atmosphere scatters shorter wavelengths of light, like blue and green, while allowing longer wavelengths, red and orange, to pass through. That filtered light bends around the Earth and lands on the moon, giving it that dramatic, otherworldly glow. Pretty wild, right? Were you one of the lucky ones who saw it? Drop your location in the comments and tell us how it looked from your view. Now, what made this blood moon so special? It was the first total lunar eclipse in over 2 years, and if you missed it, you won't get another one until 2026. The best part? It was perfectly visible across the Americas, no special glasses or telescopes were needed. Just a clear sky and a little patience. Blood moons are historically bad omens, even though they are just fascinating from an astronomer's viewpoint. Don't listen to superstition, these guys don't know the real reasons. Now let's hop over to another real reason. Someone is changing a few things. Relativity Space is currently undergoing a complete rethink of its Terran R rocket. The airframe is being assembled, engines are in production, and key systems like thrust structures, avionics, and fluid lines are being built now. The launch site is under construction at Cape Canaveral's LC-6. At Stennis, the ANR engines are firing daily. Across the country, Relativity is scaling up supply chains and transportation infrastructure to move the revised Terran R from development to launch. Alright Felix, but what's that big change? Well, it's big. The company initially designed Terran R as a Falcon 9 competitor with a fully 3D printed structure. But as demand for high-cadence launches grew, the focus changed. Instead of iterating on a mid-sized reusable rocket, Relativity is deciding to go bigger. The new version of Terran R is a more powerful, scalable, and commercially viable vehicle designed for frequent high-payload launches. Yes. It has 13 methane-fueled ANR engines powering the first stage, delivering over 1,500 metric tons of thrust. It also has a fully reusable first stage with grid fins, landing legs, and precision guidance for barge landings. It will use densified propellants that increase fuel efficiency, packing more power into the same tank volume. A lot of similarities to Falcon 9. Perhaps most notably, it will be built with a hybrid manufacturing approach, blending 3D printing with traditional aerospace techniques to speed up production and scale for mass launches. Relativity is focused on getting to orbit quickly while keeping long-term scalability in mind. Instead of following the slow step-by-step development process of traditional aerospace, they are accelerating by using rapid hardware iteration and hybrid manufacturing in a similar way as SpaceX. They will also be doing staged upgrades. Block 1 will focus on flight readiness, Block 2 will refine reusability, and Block 3 will push the launch cadence above 50 flights per year. Very much like SpaceX. This shift in thinking with Terran R means Relativity isn't locked into a single production method. By combining 3D printing where it makes sense with more conventional materials and fabrication techniques, Terran R avoids supply chain bottlenecks and keeps manufacturing flexible. Satellite constellations are scaling up fast, from Starlink and Amazon's Project Kuiper to new direct-to-cell and Earth observation networks. These projects don't need just one rocket, they need hundreds of launches each year to be built up. Relativity has already secured $2.9 billion in launch contracts with companies looking for reliable, high-frequency access to orbit. That's not a small amount of contracts at all. The original Terran R design wasn't built for this scale, but the new version is. By 2026, the company aims to scale up operations, pushing reusability forward and ramping up launch frequency. On we go with a delivery system overhaul. No, I'm not talking about pizza, although that is sometimes delivered too. NASA and Northrop Grumman are reworking ISS resupply missions after the Cygnus spacecraft experienced an anomaly, affecting its ability to perform station orbit boosting, a key function that helps maintain the ISS's altitude. While Cygnus successfully delivered its payload, it didn't raise the ISS orbit. The issue has raised concerns over redundancy in orbital logistics, as Cygnus is currently the only vehicle capable of executing reboost maneuvers. NASA is now evaluating alternative options, including adjusting upcoming mission schedules and ensuring future Cygnus spacecrafts undergo additional safeguards before launch. With commercial spaceflight playing an increasing role in ISS operations, this incident highlights the challenges of relying on one provider for critical mission support. Next up, here's some more news about my favorite mystery spaceplane. After 434 days in orbit, Boeing's X-37B spaceplane has returned to Earth, marking another milestone for the autonomous military spacecraft. Landing at Kennedy Space Center, the X-37B completed its 7th mission, further demonstrating its ability to conduct long-duration classified operations in low Earth orbit. While much of the spacecraft's activities remain undisclosed, analysts speculate that the mission likely involved testing new space-based surveillance technologies, advanced materials, and next-generation propulsion systems. The US Space Force and Boeing continue to explore potential applications for the X-37B. Some experts suggest its capabilities could eventually be adapted for future crewed or logistics missions. On to Wallops. Rocket Lab has unveiled new plans to land its Neutron rocket on an ocean platform, a move that puts it on a competitive path with SpaceX's Falcon 9 in the race for the second company to achieve reusability. The company aims to conduct its first launch in 2025, testing a recoverable first stage designed for rapid turnaround between missions. Unlike previous concepts, Rocket Lab's sea-based recovery approach provides greater flexibility in launch locations and mission scheduling, reducing the need for land-based infrastructure while expanding launch capabilities. Now, who else had that idea? It's like the entire episode is filled with companies copying SpaceX. Rocket Lab is also working on expanding further into satellite manufacturing with a new product called Flatellite, a flat, stackable satellite designed for mass production and seamless integration with their Neutron rocket. That's very similar to another satellite form factor. Unlike traditional satellite designs, Flatellite's thin profile allows multiple satellites to be stacked like cake layers, maximizing the number of payloads per launch. This efficiency is key for constellation deployments where operators must quickly send up dozens or even hundreds of satellites. Founder Peter Beck called this a bold strategic move toward making Rocket Lab a fully end-to-end space company handling everything from launch to satellite operation, like SpaceX. That's it for today. Remember to smash the like button, subscribe for more. This is what fuels the algorithm, and this is how you can help us for free. Check out our epic shirts in your favorite Space Nerd store. A new Raptor design and our brand new Starship Block 2 design are both up. Also, check out our print store at shop.whataboutit.space to buy a picture for your favorite wall. A significant amount of every purchase goes directly to our photographers. And if you want to learn more about the fascinating story of SpaceX's Raptor 3 engine, watch this video next to continue your journey. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next episode. Engines. With Ship 35 and Flight 9. 9. What was that? Earth's